Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to offer you some reflections on the Gospel of this 30th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The Gospel is one we probably have heard many times before when Jesus and a crowd of his disciples are on their way to a fateful event in Jerusalem, and along the way they meet this blind beggar Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus. And we might just see this story as one of several healing stories about Jesus, and we've heard them all. The paralytic who was lowered through the roof, or the 10 lepers that were healed, the man with a withered hand in the synagogue, and we might gloss over this story as just being one more of the healing stories of Jesus. But there's something very unique about this one. The blind beggar is named. They say they came upon Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus. And why was he named? Well, Timaeus in Greek means highly treasured one. But Timaeus in Hebrew means trash. So, what is it with Bartimaeus? Is he a highly treasured one, or is he trash? Well, the crowd certainly sees him as trash, because when he hears that it's Jesus of Nazareth that it's walking by, he begins to shout out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And the crowd tries to shush him up. Actually, not even just shush him up. They rebuke him. They shut him up. Quiet. We don't want to hear you yelling out. And he just yells out all the more, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And what's interesting is this blind Bartimaeus is calling Jesus by a messianic title, Son of David, indicating that he recognizes Jesus as being the Messiah. Even though he's blind, he can see something that this crowd of disciples has yet to grasp. Jesus is the Messiah. And so Jesus, when he hears Bartimaeus, he stops and he tells the crowd, "Call him." Because Jesus doesn't see him as trash at all. Jesus sees him as highly favored. And the crowd does, amazingly, a 180. They begin to see what Jesus saw, and then they say to Bartimaeus, "He is calling you. Come, don't be afraid." Now, why would they say, "Don't be afraid"? Well, because that's a natural reaction when one finds oneself in the presence of the divine. But they say, "Come, he's calling you." And Bartimaeus' reaction is fantastic. It says he throws aside his cloak. Now, we might think of that as, dropping your sweater or your coat, but no. For the people in the time of Jesus, the cloak was an essential garment. The cloak is what protected you from the sun by day and from the elements at night. The cloak was your sleeping bag. The cloak was what beggars used to lay in front of them so that people would put coins or food on it. You would never want to lose your cloak. But Bartimaeus casts it aside. How different that is from the story we heard a few Sundays ago about the rich young man who could not give up his possessions and clung to them. Bartimaeus is the opposite. He throws aside his cloak and he comes to Jesus. And Jesus says to him the exact same thing he asked last Sunday of James and John. "What is it you want me to do for you?" Now, most blind beggars would have responded, "Food, please," or "money." But Bartimaeus says, "I want to see." And that sentence, "I want to see," is deeply freighted with spiritual meaning. I want to see the divine. I want to see what you see. And so Jesus heals him and then says, "Go on your way." And Bartimaeus immediately begins to follow Jesus. That is now his way. He sees. And for us, well, in our life, blind Bartimaeus is all around. And when we see blind Bartimaeus, how do we see him? As a highly favored one, or as trash? Jesus comes to us and asks us exactly what he asked Bartimaeus, exactly what he asked James and John. What do you want me to do for you? Now, James and John, they said, we want to sit on your right hand and your left. We want to sit next to the guy who is the guy with the power, because then we'll have the power. And that would be so tempting to say to Jesus, I want to sit on your right-hand side and give you solid advice. Jesus, I want you to sweep up all the trash, because it's everywhere. All these beggars outside of CVS or outside the grocery store asking for money all the time, or these homeless people are putting up their tents on the street. Sweep them up. Or this crazy political situation we find ourselves in, and these other people, what are they thinking? Sweep them up, and the crime we have, to say nothing of the terrorism and the war. Look at all this trash that's all around us, Jesus. Sweep it up. Or when Jesus asks, what do you want me to do for you? We could respond like Bartimaeus. I want to see. I want to see what you see.